I think we are live. Hey, how is it going? Lee Hayward here with the last Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat of 2023. And welcome. Glad to have you joining in, as this is a regular thing that we do every Friday on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Get to hang out here for an hour, shooting the breeze and answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, or any specific challenges regarding your muscle building and fat loss goals. So let's see. I want to make sure that this is coming through loud and clear, that you can hear me, see me, all that good stuff. And we are streaming simultaneously from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. All right, let's see. We got Dan saying it's coming through loud and clear. Thank you, Dan. I do appreciate it. We got Didn't Do Nothing saying woohoo. All right. Didn't do nothing. That's an interesting username. Yep. Not guilty. And Leah's joining in saying it's loud and clear. Awesome. Robert's joining in saying it is coming through. Good, good, good. Awesome, awesome. Glad to hear that, folks. All right, so just give people a couple minutes there now to pop onto our live stream. And again, for those of you who are regulars, I see a lot of regulars here, but I also do see some names that I'm not familiar with. So if you're brand new to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding chat, or if this is your first time tuning into a live stream, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have new people joining in. And if you're a regular coming back, welcome back. All right, it's always nice to have the regulars because, again, without you, there would be no video chat. All right, a lot of people popping onto our live stream right now. Good stuff. So, again, the way this works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, and anything that you would like to discuss, and, you know, we're moving into the new year, obviously, so if you have any questions or topics of discussion related to starting again, or, you know, specific challenges related to fat loss, losing some of that stubborn holiday weight gain, if there is any that piled on over the holidays, which I know it has for many people. I actually have something that can definitely help in that regard that I want to be sharing during our video chat here today. But again, if you have any specific questions for me, any topics of discussion, or any challenges that you're dealing with, feel free to type those questions and topics into the chat window. So if you're watching on YouTube, to the side of this video chat, there should be a video chat window where you can type in your questions and comments. And if you're watching over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, then there will be a comment section below the live video stream. And it seems like most people are joining in from YouTube, which doesn't surprise me. That's our regular spot. But we do have a couple people on Facebook as well. All right, before I get into answering your questions, there's one thing that I want to address, and this is a big topic, big announcement, if you will. We're going to be launching a brand new Lose Your Gut challenge in the new year. And if you've been following my content for any length of time, you've probably heard about, or maybe even participated in, a past Lose Your Gut challenge. And this is a virtual coaching program where we're going to cover the fundamentals of fitness and nutrition to help you lose your gut. And I'm just going to share my screen here and kind of give you an overview of how this whole process works, what's involved, what's different this time around, because we are going to do some things different. And just give me a moment now to share that with you here. Let's see if this is coming through. Hopefully you can see that. All right, I'm going to try and make that a wee bit bigger. There we go. So we have the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All right, we're going to have a fresh start in 2024. Kick off the new year on the right track. So basically, how this process works is the Lose Your Gut Challenge is a virtual free 5-day coaching program where we're going to be going in depth for 5 days of coaching, covering the fundamentals of sustainable fitness and nutrition for lasting fat loss results. So it's not a hardcore cutting diet or anything like that. It's about how to lay the foundation so that you can lose your gut, and more importantly, how you can keep it off and enjoy the process. And it's all about creating sustainable habit and lifestyle changes that will move you in the right direction, but not make you feel like you're suffering on some crazy hardcore cutting diet or going hungry or hangry or feeling deprived in the process. It's about filling you up with nutrient dense foods and dieting, and I use that word in quotations, quote unquote, dieting on as high of a calorie intake as possible while still making progress, so that you're not unnecessarily slowing down your metabolism and causing unnecessary stress and suffering through the process. Because that's one of the biggest problems when people go on a fat loss diet. They think they have to like dive headfirst into the deep end. It's all or nothing. I gotta go do something drastic. Like I gotta slash my carbs. I gotta, drastically cut back my meals. I gotta go, fast, super low carb, super low fat, or go vegan, or whatever crazy diet, inter-X diet. Like they all have some crazy restriction. And yeah, it can work in the short term, but it's not sustainable in the long term. And that's the problem, right? People end up rebounding from that. So I've got a page, and I actually have the link to this. This page is right on my website here, leehayward.com. So you can go to leehayward.com and see this. It's the very first post there. And I also have a link to it in the description below this video, where you can read a summary of the Lose Your Gut Challenge program, how it originated, how I came up with this, and how the whole process works. And you can also see some of the guys who have gone through the past Lose Your Gut Challenge programs in the past, right? We've got some feedback and testimonials of some of our past guys who've gone through this. And this has been a game changer for a lot of people. Like a lot of guys have finally gotten their SHIT together, lost the weight, and got in shape. And here's a prime example. This is actually a friend of mine, Steven. He's done the Lose Your Gut Challenge several times, lost over 100 pounds, and has been able to sustain that for over 2 years. And it started with mastering his nutrition habits by going through the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All right. Some of the other guys who've gone through it. Craig War went through a Lose Your Gut Challenge, lost 45 pounds, got visible abdominal definition. All right. You have Jeff, another friend of mine, lost 100 pounds and it all started with this. It started with the Lose Your Gut Challenge program. All right. So again, it's a 5-day virtual coaching program. You can register for it now, but it's officially going to kick off on January the 12th, I believe it is the date. I posted it there. I think, just check my calendar here now. Just give me a moment. I did post it here somewhere. I think it was January 12th is when we're going to be launching this. Where did I post that to? Oh, shit. I'm trying to figure it out. It's a lengthy page. I know I put it there somewhere in my notes. I'm pretty sure. Just let me check my calendar. Yeah, it is. So it's going to be the second Friday in January is when the actual challenge is going to kick off and launch. And this time around, we're doing something a bit different. All right. So I'm going to just stop my screen share there so I can talk to you in a bigger screen. All right. There we go. This time around, we're doing something a little different, because in the past with the Lose Your Gut Challenge, we've ran it through a private Facebook group. And one of the problems, or the biggest complaint that I had with it, is if anybody wasn't on Facebook or didn't want to sign up for a Facebook account, they're like, well, I can't participate in the challenge because it's all on Facebook. And my comeback to that was like, well, just sign up for a free account and get on Facebook, right? But I understand that that's a pain in the butt if you don't like a social media platform and you just don't want to go through the hassle of it. And I get it, because I'm kind of that way with new social media platforms. Like I'm kind of slow to catch on to all these new ones, like the TikTok and the what other ones. I'm not active on Instagram very much. I did start a TikTok account posted up some short videos, but I'm not very active over there. And I was hesitant to do so, right? I started Facebook when Facebook first came out, and I just liked it. I gravitated to it. So it's kind of like my main platform of communication with friends, family, and with my personal coaching students. So that's comfortable for me. But I know a lot of people don't like social media, right? They just don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to have it. So if that's you, I can appreciate where you're coming from, right? So what we're doing this time around is, in addition to running the challenge through Facebook, at the end of each day, I'm going to be emailing out the challenge content to everyone individually. So we'll post the video lessons that are covered each day on a separate platform, and you'll be emailed the challenge content, the lessons of the day, the video replays, so you'll be able to follow along even if you don't have a Facebook account. And I'm doing that just so I can reach more people and to cover that complaint, because that was the number one complaint that I used to get from people when I launched the Lose Your Gut challenges, to say, well, you're doing this challenge, but I don't want to sign up for a Facebook account, so I can't participate. So we got you covered. Everybody, regardless if you're on Facebook or not, can sign up for the challenge. All you have to do, head on over to my website, leehayward.com, read over that post that explains the whole process, what it is, how it works, what's included, blah, blah, blah. And then in that description of the challenge, there's also a link in there where you can click to register. And all you have to do is literally enter in your name and your email address, and you'll be registered for the challenge. And then I'll forward you all the details about how the whole process works. So we'll go through it in real time together. I'll be sending out some content and some materials to help you prep for the challenge in advance. But again, the actual challenge itself will be going down on Friday, January what did I say it was? January 12th. That's the official launch date. So you have a little bit of time, right? And this is my first official notice of this, right? So I want to put it out there, get some people, involved with the challenge, because hopefully I want to get at least 100 guys to go through this challenge and make a sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation. And I know some people are probably wondering, like, okay, what's the catch? Why are you doing a free 5-day Lose Your Gut challenge? Like, this sounds too good to be true. What's the point of this? The reason I'm offering this, and I'll be totally transparent, is because I'm going to be literally giving away the first phase of the Muscle After 40 metabolic reboot. That's what it is. It's the Muscle After 40 blueprint. Phase 1 is the metabolic reboot. And that's the fundamentals that we're going to be covering within the Lose Your Gut challenge. So you'll be getting phase 1 of the program, and we're going to be outlining step by step the habits, the lifestyle, and the action plans, the food choices, and the changes that you're going to need to make and start to implement in order to move you in the right direction towards losing your gut, and not only losing it, but sustaining it over the long term. And I know that after going through that process, a certain number of people are probably going to want to get more in-depth one-on-one coaching with me. And if that's you and you want to get more in-depth one-on-one coaching, then, hey, by all means, you're more than welcome to come on board with the Muscle After 40 VIP coaching program. But if you don't want to get more in-depth one-on-one coaching and you just want to go through the free challenge, then that's fine as well, right? It's available for both. And I'll be totally honest, several people have gone through the free challenge and have made amazing results just with the free challenge alone. Now, a lot of my personal coaching students, the people who I feature on my website as some of the exceptional before and after transformations, they're the ones who've gone through the challenge and then came on board with the Muscle After 40 program because they wanted that ongoing coaching, that ongoing accountability and feedback and insights along the way as they're progressing with their fitness and fat loss transformation. So again, it's up to you. Like if you want just a little boost, a little kick in the pants, if you will, to get you started on the right track, the Lose Your Gut challenge could help you with that. And if you want a full step-by-step system so that you can achieve a lasting, sustainable transformation and have someone to hold you accountable throughout the whole process and ensure that you're on the right track, then you might want to look into getting some more advanced one-on-one coaching afterwards. But this is a way where you can literally try it before you buy it, right? That's the way it is. It's a free trial into our VIP coaching program so you can see what it's all about, how it works, and if this is right for you. So that's the way it is. It's a free 5-day virtual coaching program. And everyone who's watching this right now, if you're seeing this, you're invited to sign up. All you have to do is head on over to my website and register, and I'll keep you posted with all the details. All right. So with that being said, let's jump into some Q&A, because I know we have a lot of people popping on, a lot of Q&A coming through. I see a lot of interaction here. So let us jump in. Let's see. Steven is joining us saying, what is your opinion on dumbbell/barbell pullovers for lats? Valid movement, or am I better off doing chins or rows? All of the above. The pullover is a unique movement for the lat. Personally, I prefer a pullover machine if you have access to one. Like at the gym that I train at, Omega Health and Fitness, they've got a good pullover machine there. I believe it's Cybex is the brand of this particular one, but it takes you through that full range of motion, and in a nice controlled arc. You can handle heavy resistance and do so relatively safely and comfortably, because it's in that controlled arc of the machine. That's my personal favorite. If you have access to a pullover machine, by all means, take advantage of it. It kind of mimics the old school Nautilus pullover, which is my all-time favorite. Like if you have access to that, man, like that's gold. The old school Nautilus pullover, you can't beat that one. You sometimes see that machine used in like Dorian Yates's old videos, because that was a favorite of his, the old school Nautilus pullover. But if you don't have that, you can still do a barbell or a dumbbell pullover. It's not quite as effective, in my opinion, because with free weights, the drawback is you don't have constant tension throughout the entire range of motion. Whereas with the pullover machine, you do. You have full, like right from the full extension all the way to full peak contraction, you have tension along that full arc. Whereas when you're lifting free weights in an arc motion, at the top, there's very little tension at all. But then as you extend your arms overhead, you get a lot of tension. So you get that massive stretch, but then there's not much at the top range of motion when your arms are over your torso, if you will, right? It's all in this back position. So, you know, I'm not as big of a fan of the free weight pullover, but if that's all you have available, by all means use it. And you can also kind of combine different pullover variations to kind of get the best of both worlds. So in your situation, if you have an overhead pulley, like a lat pull down cable, tricep push down cable, you know, just a high pulley cable, what you can do is you can kind of superset a dumbbell or a barbell pullover, and both are equally good. It's personal preference whether you use barbell or dumbbell. It's the same movement pattern either way. Use that for the full stretch, and then do like a standing straight arm pullover with the cable, and then that will give you the peak contraction, right? So like the cable will give you that peak contraction that you're not getting with the free weights, and then the free weights will give you the full stretch that you're not getting with the cable, right? So you can kind of superset them or do them in an alternate fashion, you know, back to back, and get the best of both worlds. So you're really getting that full stretch and that full peak contraction throughout the lats in that arcing motion of the pullover. That would be your best option, and still include rows and pull-ups and chin-ups and whatever. I mean, like, you want to hit all areas of your back. That's the key to complete back development, right? You want to do an overhead pull, like a pull down, pull up, chin up, something, you know, something where you're pulling from overhead. You want to do a horizontal pull, right? Like a barbell row, chest supported row, T-bar row, cable row, something where you're pulling in that horizontal position. And then you also want to do a pullover motion that we just talked about, and then some sort of hip hinge, like a deadlift or a back extension or a good morning, something along those lines. If you're getting all those movement patterns, you're basically hitting your back from top to bottom, right? So you want to include all of the above. All right, what else we got there? We have Lee Dunnigan join. Oh, I mentioned that earlier. So thanks, Lee, for saying we're loud and clear. Let's see what else we got here. We have Siam. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I have had an injury some time ago, and I gained too much weight. How can I get back at it? You can join the Lose Your Gut Challenge. That would probably be the best option for you to get back on track, because the Lose Your Gut Challenge, we are going to be outlining a complete step-by-step system, starting from bare bones basic and taking you through day by day. And the idea of the Lose Your Gut Challenge is it's not overwhelming. Like, we're not going to have you go from 0 to hero from day one. Each day through the challenge, we focus on one key habit and lifestyle change at a time. And then we stack them day after day after day throughout the challenge. So by the time you come to the end of the challenge, you've got several key pieces of the puzzle, but we're breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. So it's manageable and easy to grasp and start to implement, right? So that's what I would recommend, Siam, if you haven't already done so. When this video chat's over, head on over to leehayward.com, read up on the Lose Your Gut Challenge, and register for it. And all right, what else we got there? We have Tad the Lad from over in the UK. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in. I know it is late over there, but kudos to you for joining in. We have Crush 1800. Richard says, hello and good day from Iowa. Glad to have you joining in, Richard. And Richard's a member of our Muscle After 40 VIP coaching program as well. Made an amazing transformation. Actually featured Richard's progress pictures on our Facebook page recently. Again, amazing transformation. Lost well over 100 pounds and totally turned things around as far as his health and fitness and wellness. We have Jose joining in. Happy Hello, Lee, and Happy New Year. I'm going to try a yoga class today. First time doing it. On my way there, I'll let you know how it goes. Do not underestimate it. Yoga can be challenging. Now, if you're going to a beginner's yoga class, and hopefully they will factor that in, but yoga is a a very underrated exercise for anyone who has not done it before. Right? It's a challenging move because you're working your body in ways where most people are not used to. And one of the key things that I find beneficial with yoga is it teaches you to stay calm under tension. That's one of the key things, because when you're holding those yoga poses, it's hard. And people who are good at it, like yoga masters or just real experienced yoga enthusiasts, I don't know what yogis, I guess whatever term they call themselves, they make it look easy, but it is far from easy, right? It is far from easy. I mean, I've seen guys who can squat and deadlift like 500 pounds in the gym and then try to hold the yoga pose and shake like a leaf and topple over, right? Because you're working muscles in ways that you're just not accustomed to. All those small stabilizer muscles and that are involved with balance and stability. It's hard. It is. It really is. But it's a great complementary workout to a gym training session, to cardio training session. Like if you really want to get the best of all aspects of fitness, you want a good weight training workout where you're doing strength and hypertrophy work. You want some good cardiovascular exercise in there where you're really working, your endurance and getting into that long duration zone 2 cardio, as well as some high intensity interval work in there as well. But then to cap that off, stability and flexibility, which you definitely get through yoga. I mean, if you had that in there and kind of balanced it out throughout the week, you would have the best of all worlds right there. And it would really set you up for a good overall program for health, strength, longevity, stamina, moving forward into your later years, right? So yeah, absolutely. It's a huge asset to a training program. So yeah, keep us posted with how that goes, Jose. All right. Didn't do nothing saying, do you think it's necessary to separate muscle building and strength training to get the best results? That really depends on what it is that you're training for. For the average person, and when I say average person, I'm not saying that in a derogatory mean or anything like that to put people down. I'm just saying, like, for most people, the average people that you see in the gym, they want to build muscle, they want to get stronger, they want to lose body fat, they want to improve their cardiovascular fitness, they want to improve their flexibility and mobility, they just want to be a better version of themselves all around. So if that's you just want to be in better shape all around, healthier, stronger, fitter, and live a longer life and maximize the quality of that life, you can do both, right? You can, as you're building muscle, you're also going to gain strength. The only time this is really going to vary or differ is when someone is pursuing athletic events. So like powerlifting versus bodybuilding, or Olympic weightlifting versus bodybuilding, or some other type of sport like that. That's where the hypertrophy, i.e. muscle building, differs from the strength power training, right? When you're pushing the highest levels in powerlifting or bodybuilding. But for the average person, you can work on both simultaneously, right? So this really depends on you, your goals, your situation, your training experience. Like if you're within the first couple of years of training, I wouldn't even, I just get bigger and stronger. just focus on consistency and let your body get bigger and stronger, just as a side effect of being consistent in the gym. But if you're more advanced, you've got 5+ years of consistent and progressive training under your belt, and you want to pursue a powerlifting competition or a weightlifting competition or something along those lines, then hey, maybe you can prioritize strength training and a more specific program geared towards those goals. Or if you want to go down the route of a bodybuilding or physique competition, you can pursue that. All right. So it really, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's where do you want to go? What's right for you in your situation? All right. So we have It Said Ryan. I know I'm butchering your name. It's said Ryan. It's said Ryan. All right, from the Philippines. Happy New Year's and Merry Christmas. Glad to have you joining in. I know I'm butchering your name, but thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. And Happy New Year's and all the best to you as well. So over in the Philippines, you're a day ahead of us. So it's still not New Year's Eve yet, but it will be very soon. You're in the future. All right. So I am saying I was obese. Then I lost 30 kilos, which is quite significant. Then I had an injury a year back and gained my weight again. How can I get back at it? Please guide me. Okay, you actually asked that question earlier. You just elaborated on it a bit more. And the same thing applies. Sign up for the Lose Your Gut Challenge, because that's exactly what this is. It's about how do you get a fresh start in 2024, laying out a solid action plan that you can follow to get started on the right track. So again, just reverting back to the Lose Your Gut Challenge program. We'll literally take you through a step-by-step action plan that you can follow. Alberto, hi, sir. Do you have a plan for riding the bike? I lift weights 3 times a week, and I run another 3, 1 easy run, 2 interval workouts, and 1 long run. What do you think? Okay. First off, do you have a plan for riding the bike? I mean, as far as a structured training program, sometimes I do. Like, I have gone through structured cycling training programs. Like last year, I was getting ready. I did 3 races last year. And in preparation for those races, especially for the first one, I followed a structured cycling training program, which had a combination of zone 2, like a low volume zone 2, then had some high intensity VO2 max work, and then it had a combination of high volume zone 2 work, and then some active recovery days in there as well. So it was like high intensity, low volume, low intensity, low volume, active recovery, and then kind of in the middle there with high volume. And I would go through that in a structured fashion. So the high volume days were always on the weekend, and throughout the day we'd be alternating high and low intensity workouts throughout the week with shorter volume. So yeah, I've followed structured training programs. Now, like, I don't really have a structured plan that I'm following, but my workout usually revolves around 1 day of weight training, 1 day of cardio, and I kind of alternate them back to back. Now, if I'm feeling good, I might do some extra cardio, and I usually do. More often than not, I'll throw in some extra cardio. But my bigger rides are done on a day itself. Like, I'm not going to do a big gym workout and a big ride on the same day, but I will do a gym workout and maybe a short ride on the same day, or a short cardio session. But if I'm going to be doing a big, like, long ride, multi-hour, that's going to be done on its own day, and usually on the weekend. So yeah, I do have a structured training plan, and you can do the same thing with running. Like, that same style of training, you can implement any form of endurance activity, whether that is cycling or running. The only thing with running, and I'm sure you probably know this if you're a seasoned runner, it's harder on the body because running is a high impact activity. So it's more jarring on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. The risk of injury is higher with running than it is with cycling. Like, in fact, a lot of people who get into cycling do so because of injuries in running or other sports, right? I see that often, right? A lot of people that I cycle with, they started off maybe as runners and then ended up getting, knee pain, ankle pain, whatever, injuries related to that, and then switched over to cycling because it is a lower impact, but still a very good cardiovascular exercise. And I personally like it because of that reason alone, because I'm a heavier guy for an endurance athlete. Like, by bodybuilding standards, I'm not that big, but by endurance standards, I'm huge, right? Big is all relative to who you're talking to, right? So in the endurance world, if somebody's pushing 200 pounds, like, they're massive, right? The ideal endurance athlete is well under 200 pounds, especially in the running world, you're like a buck 50, right? Or less, right? So the lighter, the better when it comes to endurance. But also, with that extra weight, also comes extra jarring on the joints, tendons, and ligaments when you're doing that high impact activity. So that's why I chose cycling as my primary form of cardio, because I enjoy it, gets me outside, and it's easier on the body, in terms of risk of injury, and you still get a great cardiovascular workout. But what you're doing, lifting three times a week, if you're doing your runs on alternate days, it seems like you probably have a good setup. So like you're doing your 3 weight training workouts, and then on one day you're doing an easy run, another day you're doing a high intensity run, the intervals, and then another day you're doing the long run, the endurance one. That's you're basically covering all your bases. So that's a solid plan that you have in place right there. Now, you can listen to your body and adjust it accordingly. Like, especially if you're not training specifically for an event or something. Like if you're feeling extra tired and you're just like, it comes to that high intensity interval day and you're like, I'm just exhausted, maybe I didn't sleep well the night before or whatever, rather than trying to force through that workout and get piss poor performance or skip the workout, I would probably do another easy session, right? Like I would gladly swap out a high intensity session for an easy session and keep the consistency going. And I've done that myself several times, as needed. Listen to your body. And if you need extra rest, then hey, that's when you can throw in an extra easy workout. But try to keep the consistency there as much as possible. Consistency over intensity. And I think that applies to all forms of exercise, nutrition, health, and lifestyle habits. Consistency over intensity is the most important thing. All right, moving on. Let's see what else we got. Neil is joining in. Says, good morning, Lee. Currently have neck stiffness and upper back muscle pain. I got this from my bench pressing and weighted pull-ups. Have you experienced this, and what's your go-to solution? It really depends what you've done. It's probably there's numerous things that could have caused this. It could be an impinged nerve. It could be actual muscle stiffness, or you pulled or strained something. It's really hard to tell. And usually it should ease up on its own within a few days or a week, right? Like most niggles and aches and pains that you get in the gym, provided you don't aggravate it, and try to push through that pain and end up making it worse, it usually heals up on its own. But you want to be careful here. And one thing that I would do is make sure to do a lot of mobility work for your neck as well as your shoulders, because the neck shoulder area is really going to help to loosen up that, because obviously you're having neck stiffness, and that upper back, when you're doing some shoulder mobility work, that's going to help to work the upper back as well. So I actually have a couple of videos. I'll just move that topic there. I'm going to share them with you. Let me just pop this open here. If I go to second, guys, it's a warm-up routine that I have that I want you to check out. And this is a warm-up routine, no exercise or no equipment required. This is something you can do at home. So I'm going to post a link to this in the video chat there. Just give me a second. So this is a total body warm-up / mobility routine. All right, so boom, that's there. That should pop up there in the video chat, so you can save that and watch that after this video chat. Another one that I recommend as well, it's a specific shoulder warm-up routine, but it would also help in your as well. And I'm going to share that too. It's actually a shoulder / rotator cuff warm-up, but even though it does target the shoulders and rotator cuff, it will help with your upper back stiffness as well. And these are very good complementary workouts. Like you can kind of do them together, or like take bits and pieces of both of them and piece it together. Find what works the best for you. So this is a shoulder / rotator cuff warm up. All right, I just posted a link to that there. So that's what I would recommend to help you with that upper back and neck pain that you're dealing with. Because these are very light exercises. Like there's no heavy resistance here. It's just basically movement and active recovery. That's what we want to focus on. Anytime you feel that pain, that stiffness, that soreness, light movement and active recovery is usually the best bet. That's usually more beneficial than simply doing nothing at all and just waiting for it to get better on its own. Like light movement is usually the best thing. Movement is medicine, as long as it doesn't cause further pain and discomfort. And I want you to listen to your body. Like if it's a little tight or stiff, like that's not a bad thing. You can work through that. But if you get this sharp shooting pain where like, there's like good pain or muscle soreness pain is usually like that dull achy feeling in the muscles. When you get that sharp shooting pain, especially in the tendons or in the ligaments or something, that's the bad pain. So anything that's sharp and really discomfortable, don't push through that. But if it's like just a dull ache or a bit of stiffness, like you can gently work through that to kind of get that active rehab and just get some more blood flow and circulation into those stiff areas. All right, so let's see what else we got there. Follow-up question there from Neil. He says, I also have tightness in my upper back and mid back as well. Any tips? And does this count as a muscle imbalance from the chest? It's really hard to say, just from the comment alone. One thing I will mention now is that total body mobility video that I shared, this will help with your any stiffness that you have throughout the back in general, throughout the mid back and the upper back as well. But it's something to certainly be aware of, right? If you are having that tightness, like, are you doing much in the way of stretching and mobility with your workouts? Like for me personally, the way I always structure my workouts is I start off with a cardio warm-up for about 10 minutes just to get the blood flow and circulation going through the body and to mentally prepare myself for the workout that's to follow. Then I do my actual weight training workout, obviously starting off light and doing progressively heavier warm-up sets, working up to my top weight working set for each exercise. And then afterwards, I follow up with some stretching for the muscles that I just trained. So every workout has that warm-up, the strength training, and then the post-workout stretching, right? That's a typical gym workout, right? And I do that in that order, pretty consistently, right? It's very rare that I don't do the stretching afterwards. And you know what? I mean, I'm at the gym quite frequently, and of all the things that I see, stretching is probably the most neglected. Like I see lots of people using cardio, see lots of people lifting weights. I don't see many people stretching. There are a few, right? Don't get me wrong. There are a few, but I can probably count the avid stretchers on my fingers, the fingers here. And there are hundreds of members, if not a thousand plus members at the gym. I have no idea how many members they've got, but there's a lot of members at the gym, and I bet I can count on my fingers the people that I see stretching on a regular basis. So it just goes to show stretching is way down in neglected in most people's workouts. And if you're feeling that tightness and stiffness and all that, that's probably the root cause. Right? If you're not working on your flexibility, you're going to lose it, right? So I would definitely recommend incorporating that. And seeing we're on the topic, I'm going to share a flexibility stretching playlist that I have. If you head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, open up the playlist tab. There is a playlist covering stretches that you can do for all your major muscle groups. It's an older playlist. Like a lot of the videos that I have on my channel are, made several years ago, but hey, they work just as well today as they did back then, right? Like this stuff doesn't expire. All right. Where is it? Just a second. I'm going to share the link to that playlist. Here we go. All right. So this is my stretching video playlist, I'll call it. All right. Boom. So you can go check that out as well. And that's posted there in the comment section. So the way that's organized, that playlist, is there's back stretches, leg stretches, chest stretches, shoulders, arms, blah, 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 blah. And there's a whole bunch of different specific ones, like stretches to help improve your squat flexibility and mobility, stretches for your hips, things like that. There's also a video there sharing my experience with yoga, when I first started doing it's called Yoga for Bodybuilders. It's different stretching exercises and that. So you can incorporate these stretches after your workouts, right? So it's something that you should be doing. And not only is it going to help to improve your flexibility and mobility and prevent injury, but it's also going to help with muscle growth, right? Stretching that muscle, like that's an important aspect of hypertrophy. And it's a neglected aspect for a lot of people. So you really want to prioritize the flexibility. All right, moving on. We have Ronald joining us. Hope your Christmas went well. I'm in my 20s and full-time college student. And I want to transform my physique in 2024. Any tips to work out at home? Again, Ronald, if you've been watching the chat since the beginning, I would recommend checking out that Lose Your Gut Challenge program. Like this is going to really lay out the fundamentals, as far as the nutrition, the lifestyle habits, and the exercise habits. And as far as working out from home, personally, like I've got mixed reviews on this. I have worked out from home and I've made great progress working out from home. So I'm not anti working out from home. But if you are going to work out from home, you have to have the right tools. Like the pet peeve of mine is when people reach out to me and say, well, I want to work out from home. How do I get, big and jacked and get in great shape from home? And I say, okay, well, what do you have for equipment? I got nothing. Or I got a set of dumbbells or whatever. Like, it's like someone saying, hey, I'm a carpenter and I want to build a house. I say, okay, what do you got in the way of tools? I got a hammer. That's it. Yep, that's it. I got a hammer. Well, you're not going to go very far if you're trying to build anything substantial with just one tool. Same with building your body. Like you got to have the tools, right? You have to have the tools if you want to get the job done right. And when it comes to a home gym, like you're going to need to have barbells and dumbbells and some sort of cable pulley machine and, a rack and adjustable bench. And, that's the basics, right? And then it'd be nice to have like a leg extension, leg curl set up, different types of, even resistance bands. That's another great tool for a home gym so that you can duplicate a lot of cable and machine exercises, a pull-up bar, a dip station, things like it can get to be a lot, right? If you want to have a good, well-equipped home gym. And I mean, back in the day when I was training from home, even though it was a home gym, it was a good home gym. We had a power rack. We had a universal machine with cable pulleys, leg extension, leg curl, pec deck. We had a T-bar row, a calf raise machine, oodles of plates and dumbbells and all that stuff. But bottom line, like we had a damn good home gym setup. So we had all the tools needed to get the job done. And I trained in that home gym for 8 years before I ever stepped foot inside a public gym, right? So, I mean, I actually did 3 bodybuilding shows. My very first 3 competitions I did training from my basement home gym. But even then, it was limiting because, after 8 years, I was kind of like, okay, there's only so many different variations I can come up with the limited amount of equipment that I have. So then I joined, commercial gym. I actually started off working out at the local YMCA, and the equipment they had there was, exponentially better than what I had at my home gym. And I found just by switching to that environment, I made much better gains again. Right. And then the better equipment, like it's like stacking the deck in your favor. The better the equipped gym, the better workout you're going to get, the more potential you have for maximizing muscle growth. Right. So you want to work out from home. Well, if you do, you're going to have a good home gym, or why not look into a public gym? I mean, you're a college student. I mean, maybe they have a gym at your school. I know a lot of universities and colleges and whatever have access to gyms. Maybe you have access to a public gym, whether it's a local center or community gym or YMCA, or whatever. Some of these fitness centers, I mean, you can sign up there. I mean, there's oodles of gyms these days. If you live in a major city or a decent sized town, there should be a gym available. And if money is the issue, because I know for a lot of people, especially college students, money, the funds might be an issue. There's ways around that, and depending on where you're to, like when I started working out at the YMCA, I volunteered at the YMCA. And I volunteered for 2 hours a week. And for 2 hours a week of volunteer work, they gave me a free membership. So that's how I literally got started there. So I did not pay for the membership. I volunteered my time. And it worked out really great because on the days that I volunteered, basically that was just an extra long workout day because I do my 2-hour volunteer shift and then I work out afterwards. So I didn't have to make 2 trips to the gym, and then I got to have my free membership the other time. And if you look at, like, if you live near a YMCA, they probably offer that, right? Because it is a charity organization and they do run on volunteers and stuff like that. So you might be able to come up with some sort of similar deal. Again, this was over 20 years ago when I did this, so I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been to a YMCA in over 20 years, so I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on this, but that's the way it was back in the day. I don't know what it's like now. But you might even be able to work something out like that, even with like a community center gym, or if it's a privately owned mom and pop gym. Like if funds are tight, how about you offer to say, you know what, hey, I'll mop the floors for you guys if you let me have a membership, right? I'll come in, I'll clean the toilets and mop the floors and wipe down the machines a couple times a week or whatever, if you let me have a gym membership. And you know what? I bet a lot of gym owners, especially if it's a small locally owned mom and pop gym, they'd probably honor that deal, because that's a fair trade. That's a win-win situation all around, right? So maybe you could trade services, for a gym membership, right? There's always ways to work around it, if you think outside the box. Because I know that's a big hurdle for a lot of people. They say, I don't want to sign up for a gym membership because it's too expensive. Well, how can you work around that, right? Don't use money as the excuse to neglect your health and fitness, right? So again, I'm not saying that is an issue for you. I'm just sharing this for anybody in particular, right? I don't know Ronald personally or his situation, so I mean, that may not be the issue at all for him, or it may be. I have no idea. But just for the benefit of everybody watching this video chat, I know that could be an issue for some, and these are just some ideas that you can look into. All right, moving on. Let's see what else we got. Danny saying, I'm considering purchasing a set of Olympic adjustable dumbbells for my home gym. What are some pros and cons to using Olympic adjustable dumbbells versus traditional dumbbells? The biggest one is, if they're adjustable dumbbells, you got to switch the weights every single set, and every time you do a different weight exercise, and that's a pain in the ass. It is. Now you can do it, but it's just a nuisance, right? I mean, I had adjustable dumbbells for years when I was back in my home gym that I trained at for 8 years in my basement. That's all we had, was just those adjustable dumbbells. They weren't the Olympic style ones. There was those old-fashioned spin lock. They had the spiral ends to the dumbbells, and you like a nut that you screwed onto the end, and just do little 1-inch handles. So I mean, that's what I used. Now I got by, but it was a pain in the ass. It was a nuisance. Like, once I switched to using proper dumbbells at the gym, I was like, oh my God, I never want to go back to using those adjustable dumbbells ever again, because it's just having to switch the weights and then trying to do your progressively heavier warm-up sets. It was just a pain in the butt all the time. So what I went with for my home gym that I have now is, I actually do have a dumbbell rack with hex dumbbells that go all the way from 5s to 40s. But then for heavier dumbbells, I got a set of power blocks. Now, power blocks are not cheap, and there's a lot of different variations, these adjustable dumbbells that you can get now. And again, they're not cheap, but they're a good value, and they're super convenient because there's a pin that you can use to just adjust the weight of the dumbbell. So instead of having to manually take the weights apart and load them and offload them and blah, 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 you just like putting a weight pin in a weight stack, right? It's that easy to switch from to your next heaviest set of dumbbells. So that's what I use personally. And if you're considering purchasing dumbbells for a home gym, I would probably go that route just for the convenience aspect. Granted, it's going to be more of an initial investment up front, but look at the big picture. If you are more likely to use those dumbbells because they're more convenient, is it a better value versus if you get the adjustable ones, and once the novelty wears off, it's like, I don't want to work out because it's such a pain in the ass to adjust the dumbbells all the time, right? So you got to look at the bigger picture. And when it comes to exercise, any bit of friction can cause hesitation for you to not want to work out, right? We're always, especially for people who are struggling to be consistent with exercise, they're always looking for any excuse to not do it. So if you can reduce that friction barrier, every little thing counts, right? Every little thing counts. So even the ease of adjusting your dumbbells, can make a difference. So I think in the long run, even though it's going to cost you more money to get a good set of those adjustable dumbbells, and again, like their Power Block makes them, I think Bowflex makes some different adjustable dumbbells, and there's probably a gazillion other, knockoff brands. And I'm not saying that they're knockoff brands, meaning they're crap, but Power Block was like the original one to come up with this idea, but there's been several others come out since then. I think it's worth your while to spend a little bit of money up front, but then have the quality of that adjustable dumbbell and the ease and convenience. Because again, you're more likely to actually use it and get the benefit from it versus buying the adjustable ones that are probably going to end up being a dust collector in a year or two time. Right? Speaking from experience here. Right? Speaking from experience. All right. And then, of course, the best option, again, would be to join a gym. Right? That would be my ultimate recommendation. But if you're looking for home gym alternatives, don't skimp out on it. Right? Get quality. Frank has joined us. He says, Lee, do you have any thoughts about supplementing with carnitine L-tartrate and vitamin K2? I have experimented with them, but I'm not sure that they've done much. I use L-carnitine myself, and it's all these supplements, like they're not going to have a major, like, oh my God, I feel that, right? It's not like taking a high caffeine pre-workout where like you feel it, right? And right? You're not going to get the jolt of energy from it. But I do personally take L-carnitine, and it can help with improving your endurance, your stamina, and also helping your body to utilize carbohydrates for energy. It can help, but is it a must-have supplement? No, right? Like I've done multiple bodybuilding shows and gotten in great shape without ever using carnitine, right? So it's not by any stretch of the imagination a must-have, but it can help. And the reason why I use it is because it's been shown to help aid with carbohydrate metabolism and help with endurance. And that's my main priority now as I'm into cycling. Like I really want to try and maximize, look for those little marginal gains and some low-hanging fruit that I can get a little bit of extra boost from. So it's a simple supplement. It's not that expensive. It's not hard to take. It's not a big inconvenience. So for a little marginal gain, I think it's worth it. But is it going to be like make or break? Heck no. The L-tartrate, I've never tried that myself, so I really don't have any feedback on it. As far as vitamin K2, I supplement with that as well. I use the vitamin D3 that I have also is a K2, right? And this is something I really only started doing this within the last several months, but K2 works synergistically with D3. So it actually helps your body to absorb and utilize D3. And it's utilized in so many other functions within the body. And you're not really going to feel it, but it's going to help your body to absorb and utilize all the other nutrients that you're consuming as well. And the way it is with vitamins, you want to make sure that you have optimal levels. And going from like normal to optimal, you may not really feel a whole lot of difference. But if you had a deficiency, then went to normal, or had a deficiency and then went to optimal, that's when you could significantly notice the difference. So you're probably in the stage where you don't really have a vitamin deficiency in any of these areas. So going from normal to optimal, even though it's providing those marginal gains, is probably not something that you're going to feel, the performance boost. Like, quite honestly, I mean, like even someone like who's going on performance enhancing drugs, like if sometimes people don't feel a big jolt from that either, right? Even though it's providing a marginal edge, a lot of times it's not like this something that you feel, because a lot of these things, it's vitamins, it's minerals, it's just helping your body to function at its best, right? And to give you another analogy, like if you're driving your car and you've never done an oil change in the last year, and then you go get an oil change and then you still drive your car, the car is probably going to feel the same, right? Like you're probably not going to notice the difference when you were driving it on old oil versus an oil change, but it's a lot better for the car and it's going to help the car long term. But if you're chugging through rush hour traffic with old oil, or you got a freshly changed oil, you're probably not going to feel the difference in your performance, right? But it's helping the car, right? It's helping it from the health of the engine and the longevity and all that stuff. So same idea when it comes to optimal nutrition. Sometimes you don't always feel it, but it's having those marginal gains, on on another level in terms of helping with your health and wellness. All right, what else we got there? So got them videos there. Chris, this is a good question. Is it okay to stretch during workout sets? I would be cautious on this because it depends. Like the general rule of thumb, do the majority of your stretching after your workout. So once the muscles are already trained, they're fully warmed up, the blood is pumped in them, that's the ideal time to stretch after your workout is done. And you can use it like as a active recovery cool down as well, right? So I like to stretch and relax after the workout. I find that that's a great way to unwind and kind of like go full circle. So I do my warm up, the high intensity workout itself, and then the stretching. So I kind of go in that curve, right? Build up to a peak, and then I come back down with the stretching at the end. But with that being said, if you're feeling extra tight in certain areas, or you're doing a movement that requires a full range of motion and you find it a bit awkward, you may want to do some stretching before or even during, in between your progressively heavier warm-up sets for that. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say I'm going to do a leg workout and I want to do squats, and my hips or knees are feeling a bit tight, and I just like, I'm going through my warm-up sets and I say, you know what? I think I need to do a little bit extra stretching just to, get the kinks out and help me to go through a full range of motion. I might do some light stretching for my legs and hips and glutes and stuff like that, so that I can actually improve my flexibility and mobility for doing a full squat. So I will incorporate that. And when I do my upper body workouts, like I always go through my rotator cuff routine, which is kind of like an active stretching. So I'm taking the shoulders through full range of motion, doing things like arm circles and chest flies and things like that to just kind of open up all those areas. So you can incorporate some light stretching and mobility in through the workout itself. Like ideally you do it beforehand, as part of your warm up. But if you're doing some of your workouts and some of your exercises and they do feel a bit tight, yeah, you want to maybe throw in a little bit of extra flexibility or mobility work to loosen up and so you can feel confident doing those exercises. But I wouldn't do any heavy static stretching. Save the heavy static stretching for at the end of the workout, because there's a school of thought that when you stretch a muscle, especially like holding a static stretch, it can take some of the tension out of the muscle and can actually temporarily make it weaker. So for example, like if you're stretching out your hamstrings and stretching out your lower back and doing a lot of that stuff, and then you go and try and pull a heavy deadlift, well, you just took a lot of the tension out of those muscles, right? And that tension is actually going to help you to power up heavier weight. Right. Same with if you're doing a bench press, and right, you do a lot of stretching for your chest beforehand, stretching for your shoulders, and you hold the deep static stretch, and you really like loosen those muscles totally out. And then when you get onto the barbell for the bench press, you're probably not going to have as much force generated because you've just totally stretched out those muscles. And having that little bit of tension in the muscles can actually help you with the exercise to power up maximum weight. Right now, it's a fine line. Like you don't want to be so stiff and tight that you're going to pull or tear something, but you don't want to be so loose and relaxed that you feel all loosey-goosey and like, oh, I don't have any power left, which sometimes can happen if you do a lot of heavy static stretching where you're holding stretches for prolonged periods of time and you almost feel too loosey-goosey. Like having a little bit of tension in the body can actually help you to power up maximum weight. Right, so save the stretching for after the strength training. That's the best time to get the best bang for your buck without any drawbacks. All right, let's see. Alberto saying, you're the best, mate. Feliz Anno Novo. I know I butchered that, but Happy New Year. Thank you, Alberto. Much appreciated. All right. Roger's joining us. Is my rotator cuff's been hurting a little while when I do push-ups? Do you think the warm-up will help? It certainly can, and I want you to be careful with the push-ups as well. Try changing your hand positions. Also try doing your push-ups on a push-up handle or a hex dumbbell. Like you've probably seen these if push-up handles. If not, you can just Google search them, push-up handles. But you can also do the same thing, kind of mimic a push-up handle with a hex-shaped dumbbell. because the hex dumbbells are not going to roll, right? So you get the 20 or 30, 40-pound hex dumbbell, something like that. I mean, the weight is irrelevant. You just want it for the handle, but get a good solid one so that it's got a good base and it's not going to roll. And hold those for your push-up handles. And just the fact of holding the push-up handle sometimes can take some of the tension out of the wrists and also some of the tension out of the shoulders. And another thing I recommend too with your push-ups, I'll just move this comment here so I can demonstrate. Don't have your arms out wide. Like a lot of people try to do their presses and push-ups out here. Have your upper arms tucked down. So your elbows should be at about a 45-degree angle to your torso, and hands pressing in line with the chest, not high up here, down here. When you go lower, it takes some of that rotation out of the shoulder, places more of the emphasis on the chest, more of the emphasis on the triceps. And it's a safer position to do your bench presses and push-ups and all those exercises from. So if you're doing your push-ups out here and you're having shoulder pain, it's no wonder, right? Tuck your elbows down. And if you're using push-up handles, you can even set them up so that they're at a 45-degree angle. So if you're using like the dumbbells or the handles, literally position them so they're at a little wider than shoulder width and they're angled at 45 degrees, because that will force you to be in that position, right? You'll force you to have your elbows tucked naturally versus having your elbows flared out wide. All right. And you can also do this with like a dumbbell bench press as well. Like instead of using a barbell bench press, which forces your arms to be out wider, usually use a dumbbell. And then you can tuck your elbows in, twist your hands on that 45-degree angle, so they're angled in. And that'll place less stress on the shoulders and should be more comfortable to help work around that. Big thing is when you're going through any injury rehab, I don't know if it's a full-on injury or if you're just getting some strain, but purposely lighten up the weight for the next little while until you work through this. So be conservative and kind of go through the motions and try and find a position that allows you to do the exercises, do your push-ups and do your presses and things like that without aggravating the rotator cuff, right? And go extra light and literally just go through the motions until you can get the position comfortable. Once the comfort is there, then we can gradually start building up the weight again. But if you start pushing heavy and trying to make strength gains and train in a progressive overload fashion while working through pain, it's going to compound into an injury, right? You might be able to get away with it for a little while, but if it hurts, and when I mean hurt, I'm talking about like that sharp shooting pain in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, do not ignore that, right? That's there for a reason, right? That's your body's check engine light flashing saying, hey, wake up, something's wrong here. We got to change something, right? Now, that dull fatigue that you get in the muscles, like the pump, the lactic acid buildup and burn, like that's a good pain. You can work through that, but sharp shooting pain in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, do not work through that, right? Stop what you're doing and figure out how we can alleviate that as soon as possible. All right, let's see what else we got there. Ronald saying, thank you, Lee, for the advice. God bless. You're welcome. Welcome. Glad to help. Man from Earth. I hope we're all from Earth. I don't know if we have any aliens joining us here today, but anyway, we have a man from Earth saying that my blood sugar is normal, but after losing weight, I get crazy sugar cravings. I never liked sugary foods before. Not sure what to do. Also, if any other question, should I take I can't even pronounce that. I know Chymotrypsin and all right, for my joints and tendons. I'm not even familiar with what that is. I have to Google search that, and I can't even pronounce it. So I'm going to pass on that question because I'm going to have to look that one up myself. I don't even know which particular supplement that is. I will address some of the supplements that I personally use for joint health, but first I want to address this one. Your blood sugar is normal, but after losing weight, you get crazy sugar cravings. That's pretty normal. All right. Whenever you go into a calorie deficit, you lose weight. This is your body trying to fight it. Right. This is what often happens as the leads to the rebound weight gain, where people can suffer it out in the short term, go on the calorie deficits, burning more calories than they consume, lose the weight. But then in this phase afterwards, it's your body is going into this survival mode where it doesn't like this, right? It wants to be back at its old stable weight, and you're kind of fighting it. So you have to go through this transition in order to regulate and kind of create this new set point for yourself. And this is tricky because you have to learn how to fill yourself up with high volume, high nutrient foods that are going to satiate you, and also fill yourself up with the good stuff so that you're not craving the bad stuff. And this is all things that we're really going to go into detail within the Lose Your Gut Challenge program. Like, we're going to do a deep dive into nutrition and cover specific nutrition strategies that will help to increase eating satiation, increase satiety, and make you feel full while still keeping a calorie deficit. Now, it's not going to be a major calorie deficit, but still keep a calorie deficit so that you prevent that weight gain. And when I see this, there's several reasons why you may be having those massive sugar cravings. One, the overall caloric intake might be just way too low, and you're just not satiated. Your body's, triggering all those hunger hormones so that it's making you want to eat more. It also could be your food choices, because some foods are more satiating than others. Like, I'll give you an example, like protein. Protein is one of the key foods. You hear it all the time when it comes to building muscle, but it's also critical for burning fat, because protein is very satiating, and it's also very unlikely to get stored as body fat. So the more protein you eat, the more full you're going to feel, and it's going to help to normalize and stabilize your hunger. And I'll give you an analogy to kind of make this make sense. If I put a box of donuts in front of you, right? I'm probably tempting you here now. Or Christmas cookies. If you want to get into the festive spirit, we can use Christmas cookies instead of donuts. But let's just say I put 6 Christmas cookies on the table in front of you and said, hey, could you eat all 6 of these cookies? You could probably devour every single one of them and probably want to come back for more. Like, we can do that. We can devour cakes and cookies and donuts and things like that. Like, we can just gobble them up, and they don't fill us up. But what if I put 6 chicken breasts and said, okay, can you eat 6 chicken breasts? You probably eat 1 chicken breast and say, okay, it was pretty good, but I can eat another one. You can probably eat 2. Most people would be quite satiated with 2 chicken breasts, right? Now, I'm talking like 2 proper full chicken breasts, sometimes not these little tiny scrawny dehydrated frozen ones you sometimes get. But if you had 2 proper chicken breasts, that's filling. I mean, if you were really hungry, you might eat 3, but then after that, you'd be like, my God, I'm sick of eating chicken. I don't want to eat anymore. It's like, bull. I'm just stuffed. I don't want to have any more chicken. Like, it has built-in satiation in there. But when it comes to cakes and cookies and sweets, it's like there's no shut off. We can just eat and eat and eat, right? Like, you grab a bag of potato chips. Like, we've all been there. Like, I'm sure you've popped open a bag of potato chips before and started eating, and then next thing you know, you're grabbing the bottom of the bag. Like, what the heck happened here, right? Where did the chips go? But you're still, like, you're not full. Like, you could still keep eating. But the natural foods, especially the protein foods, they're not like that. You just can't endlessly eat chicken breasts. Like, nobody goes out on a chicken breast binge, right? You don't see that. And this applies with other processed foods. Like, think of like a bag of apples, right? You might be able to eat a full bag of potato chips, but nobody's going to sit down and eat a full bag of apples, right? You eat 1 apple, eat 2. Maybe if you're really crazy, eat 3. But then you're like, look, I'm sick of apples. Like, I don't want to eat anymore, right? They have built-in satiation there. So choosing the right foods and making sure that you're filling up with the good stuff is going to help to prevent, those cravings for the not so good stuff. So sometimes when it comes to fat loss dieting, it's not what do you need to cut out and what do you need to avoid or restrict. It's using a reverse psychology. What do I need to eat more of so that I'm fueling my body, filling it up, and I'm literally staying full on good quality foods, nourishing the body on the cellular level so that I don't have those uncontrollable hunger cravings, where you're craving the sugars and all that stuff. All right. So it's a big nutritional shift. And this is stuff that we're going to do a deep dive in, like literally a 5-day intensive coaching program with the Lose Your Gut Challenge. I'm just kind of scratching the surface here, but I highly recommend you check it out. And again, just head on over to leehayward.com, and the first blog post there outlines the whole Lose Your Gut Challenge and how to register for it. The other question you had was joint supplements for joints and tendons. Now, I'm going to have to look into those because I'm not familiar with those particular supplements that you mentioned. But what I like to use myself for joints and tendons, I'm a big fan of collagen. I've been using collagen powder for several years now, and I find it does make a noticeable difference, right? I got to say it does. And I just use plain beef collagen powder. I actually get mine from Costco. They've got these big containers, just plain beef collagen powder, and I'll use that. You can mix it in with a protein shake. You can mix it in with oatmeal, with a smoothie. I mean, you could even take just a plain scoop of collagen, dump it in your mouth, and chase it down with water. I've done that as well. Like it's very easy to consume. It has a very mild taste. Like there is a taste to it, but it's not a strong taste. So like you could mix it in with a shake or a smoothie or oatmeal and hardly notice it. So I take that. I usually take about 15 grams a day, or at least. Like that's what my benchmark is. I try to take 15 grams a day of collagen powder, and I find that makes a noticeable difference. Another one that's very good for joints, omega-3 fatty acids. And for this, I take a high potency fish oil supplement that's high in EPA and DHA fatty acids, which are the omega-3s. And this is something that virtually everybody should be supplementing with, because it's almost universal across the board that everyone's deficient in omega-3s. Very few people are consuming adequate omega-3s unless you're like a fish junkie and you're just pounding down fish every single day, right? If you're eating fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines and things like that on a daily basis, you probably got your omega-3s covered, from natural food sources. But if you're not, like you're one of these people who either hate fish and you don't eat it at all, or you like fish, but you only eat it once a week or less or something like that, that's not enough, right? You need to have the consistency in there. And that's where the omega-3 fatty acids, the high potency fish oil supplements can help. And when you're buying fish oil and omega-3s, check the label. Like you want something that's at least 50% omega-3s or more. Because a lot of times you go to the drugstore, the grocery store, wherever, and they got their no-name brand of fish oils, and it's like, $10 a bottle for, a gazillion capsules. And you actually read the label and look at the ratios of EPA and DHA compared to the total amount of oil, and it might be like 10% or less. So there's like a sprinkling of fish oil in there, and the rest is just garbage fat. So you don't want that. You want a high potency omega-3 supplement that's at least 50% omega-3s, right? The one that I use, I think it's about 60% omega-3s. I'll have to double check the label, but I know it's a high potency one. And you will pay more for it, but again, you get what you pay for in that situation. But it's definitely worth it. But omega-3s, hands down, it's a great overall health and wellness supplement, but it's also really good for joints, inflammation, heart health, blah, 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 blah. Like the list goes on. What else for joints and stuff? I supplement with turmeric, right? That's good as an anti-inflammatory supplement. So I take that on a regular basis as well. And that's a good one. I'm just thinking specific for joints. I used to take glucosamine and chondroitin as a regular, but since I started using collagen, I actually found that to be much better. I actually found like a lot of the niggles and the aches and pains that I had in my joints and ligaments, once I started supplementing the collagen, I've noticed a significant improvement. Now, it's not overnight, but like over the course of weeks and months of taking it, I found that my joints just started to feel better. So, and then I actually ran out of the glucosamine and the chondroitin supplements, and I just, I didn't reorder them, but I didn't feel any different. So I'm like, I'm going to keep the collagen powder going. And I think that one, the collagen and the omega-3s, like those are the two must-haves that I would recommend. If you're not currently using those and you got joint pain, definitely get those. In fact, that'd be a good supplement for anybody to take regardless, because there's so many health benefits. Again, you can go on Google if you want to read up on it yourself, but it's not just joints, tendons, and ligaments, but there's so many benefits throughout the body entirely for that. So those are some good ones that can certainly help. All right. All right. So that's again, Man from Earth saying, thanks for answering. He says, I can't even pronounce it. Chymotrypsin and trypsin are to reduce inflammation. Again, I'm going to have to look into them myself because I'm not familiar. I'm not using them myself. I've never have. So I'm going to have to look into them. Another question there. This is from Emma. It says, you mentioned the other day that you tore your left bicep a while back. Do you notice a difference in size and strength, and what are your bicep peaks like when you flex compared to each other? The left bicep, I tore that. I've actually torn both biceps back. The left one was the worst one because it was actually a partial tendon tear there as well. That was back in 2010, I believe it was. So it was a while ago now. The right one I tore it, but it was just muscle fiber tear. So the right bicep actually healed up normally, but I just had some fiber tears. So it got bruised and discolored, but there was no deformation. The left one is shorter than the right one now. So it's and it'll always be like that. Like if you have any tendon damage, the only way to fix that is to get it surgically fixed. And even then, sometimes it will never be back to normal again. Like I know some people have had muscle tears, and even if they get them surgically reattached again, they're probably still going to have some deformation, and it's probably never going to be the same as it once was, right? So it's unfortunate, and that's why it's so critical to pay attention to injury prevention, right? You know, prevention is right? What's the old saying? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Well, in this case, it's probably 10x that, right? Prevention is the only way, like, because the cure, a lot of times when you have a muscle tear, there really is no cure, right? Like you'll never be back to the same as you were before, right? And that's been the same with me. Like my strength has never been the same since before I've had my injuries. Like I've had two major injuries that involve some tendon and ligament damage, and my strength has been nowhere near that since. All right. Let's see what else we got. I'm trying to improve my running and sprinting, and any supplements for cardio. L-arginine, maybe. Thank you much. Arginine could certainly help. One that I would definitely recommend. This is kind of universal across the board. I know you've heard of it before. You may or may not be taking it, and you're probably sick hearing about it. Creatine. Creatine works. And it's not just for a health and wellness supplement. It's an overall, it's physical health, mental health. There's so many benefits to creatine. In fact, most of the studies done on creatine now are not even geared towards the sports performance side of things, because that's kind of been proven and documented, and we know that's there. Now they're looking at creatine as an overall health and wellness supplement. Right. And there's so many benefits from mental and cognitive, and helping to reduce risks of depression and numerous functions within the body. Like creatine is so critical to so many things within the body. So taking creatine will also help with your recovery and also help with your endurance. Now, it's the thing that I find the most with creatine is one, helps to hydrate the cells. Right, pulls water and nutrients into the cells. So a hydrated cell is a healthy cell, and that's going to certainly help your performance all around. But it's also good for recovery. I find when I'm taking creatine, I don't feel as beat up after a hard workout, and I can recover faster. And maybe that's partly due to the hydration aspect of pulling the water and the nutrients in the cell. Helps to regenerate the ATP and the energy systems within the body, and of course the hydration and the extra nutrients. That's one thing I've noticed. Like if I'm not taking creatine versus when I am, I feel I recover better with it, right? And it's such a simple supplement to take. I just literally 5 grams a day. Boom, right? Simple as that. Another big one, especially for endurance, beta alanine. Very powerful supplement that can have a noticeable impact in your cardiovascular fitness and stamina. Same idea with creatine. You want to take that on a regular basis, right? Just for me, like I take my creatine and beta alanine, and I take it with my vitamins in the mornings. Like when I have my breakfast, I have my vitamins, and I just take that along with it. right? So it's simple, just one shot, one and done. But that can certainly have a big impact on improving your workout performance and stamina and endurance. Another one that you might want to look into as well that kind of complements these, D-ribose. It used to be popular years ago. It's not as popular anymore, but it's still available. But that's another one that I use, and it kind of has a synergistic effect to complement creatine and the beta-alanine. So D-ribose. I get it off Amazon because I've noticed like none of the supplement stores locally carry it because it used to be popular back in the day, but you don't hear a lot of it anymore. But there is some some good feedback about it, and I find that it's certainly worthwhile. I find that it does give me a little extra edge in terms of energy and stamina, and it has a synergistic effect when it comes with the creatine. Helps the body recycle its natural energy production. But those are some good ones for sure that you can incorporate. And then, of course, all the basic things like making sure that you're meeting all your vitamin and mineral needs, like magnesium, the B vitamins, vitamin D3. Those are the critical ones. Making sure that you have adequate iron as well, especially if you're not this one's a tricky one. Like, I don't recommend people going out and, supplementing with iron unless you have an iron deficiency, but ensuring that you're getting adequate iron through the foods you eat, like make sure you're getting red meat and whole eggs and nuts and things like that are good sources of iron. But getting adequate iron is important, especially for people who don't eat a lot of meat and eggs and things like that, which are rich sources of iron. Because I remember when I was younger, I didn't eat a lot of meat, as a teenager and that growing up. My diet was whatever mom and dad made. And we did eat meat, but it wasn't like a daily thing. It was like, okay, we have a barbecue on the weekend or something like that. But throughout the week, our meat/protein intake was kind of minimal. It was mostly filler food, carbohydrates and some vegetables and a little tiny bit of meat or protein on the side there. So there were, and then this was just the way my parents cooked and prepared food, right? So I wasn't in charge of it. But by going through that as a teenager, I actually developed an iron deficiency. And the doctor recommended me to, first of all, try to remedy it naturally through nutrition. And he said, like, red meat, liver, whole eggs, like those foods, especially organ meat, like liver, this like the richest source of iron there is. So I was eating liver at least 3 times a week. It's not the most pleasant food, especially when you're eating it frequently, but I choked it down. And then I was also making sure to eat whole eggs and more red meat throughout the week as well. And I did bring my iron levels up, which had a noticeable impact on energy and strength and everything else. And then since then, I have sporadically incorporated iron supplements. Like after I kind of went back to a less regimented diet of trying to choke down liver every other day, and kind of went back to a more normal consumption, I maintain my iron levels by supplementing with iron pills. And now I actually use a multivitamin that does contain iron in it as well to just make sure that that's topped up. But if anyone has an iron deficiency, and it's more common than you think, especially for endurance athletes or people who are not eating a lot of animal products, that can have a big impact in reducing your red blood cell production and reducing your energy and all that stuff. So again, sound nutrition is the big one, but there are some supplements, as I mentioned, that can help to give you the marginal gains. And again, it's not, like, oh, this is going to take you from zero to hero, or, cancel out the effects of hard work or anything like that. It's just going to help to optimize what you're currently doing, right? It's a marginal gain, right? I remember, like, I can't remember who told me this initially, but they say like training, nutrition, and lifestyle, like that's 95%. The supplementation is like an extra 5% bonus on top. But master the training, the nutrition, and the lifestyle first. Like, get the 95% taken care of. Once that's done, then if you want that extra little boost, the little extra 5% edge that supplements can give you, that's when they make a difference. The problem with a lot of people is we get beginners and folks who are looking for the shortcut, and they're not even exercising consistently. They're not even following any type of sound nutrition plan. Their sleep schedule is all over the place. And they're like, what's the pill that I need to take that's going to, get me in shape? And like, there is no pill, right? If exercise and fitness was as simple as taking a pill, everybody would be in shape, but it doesn't work that way, right? You got to have the put in the hard work first with the diet, exercise, and lifestyle habits, and then the supplementation can give you a little extra edge on top of it, but you're not going to make up for poor diet and lifestyle habits and exercise habits through a pill, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. All right, another question here. This is a good one. Can creatine increase your levels of creatinine? Yes, it will, but it's not a permanent change and it's not a harmful change. One of the effects when you consume creatine, it does increase the production of creatinine. And creatinine is a marker that they'll use to determine kidney function. But if just because you have higher creatinine levels from creatine supplementation doesn't mean your kidneys are breaking down. It means your kidneys are working fine and they're just processing the creatine. Like, creatine does not cause kidney damage. This has been studied and researched and everything else, but it will increase the creatinine levels. And for people who don't understand how this works, like if you went to a doctor who didn't understand this and they measure, like you did blood work and they, holy shit, your creatinine levels are high, right? Put you on medication or something or whatever, thinking that you have kidney damage. No, it's just a byproduct of your body processing creatine. So it will elevate the creatinine levels, but guess what? As soon as you stop the creatine consumption, your creatinine levels come back down again. So what I recommend, and this is what I do personally whenever I get blood work done, and this is a nice little side note as well, I will stop supplementation. Like, I'll stop creatine. I'll even stop all the vitamins and things like that, the beta-alanine and all that. Like, I'll just focus on natural food for about a week, right? Just kind of like clear out the system so I don't skew my blood results. So I'll just take a week off supplements entirely to let it all clear my system so that I bring things back down to baseline. And I'll also take several days off exercise before I get blood work. So I don't want to do any strenuous physical exercise for at least 72 hours prior to the blood work, and sometimes even more. Because if you do a hard workout and then the next day go get blood work, when you go to the gym and you do a hard workout, I mean, you're breaking down your muscle tissue. You're creating all the lactic acid buildup and the stress factors and everything else that come about from the workout where you're breaking the body down. And that can skew your blood work, right? That can show elevated liver enzymes or elevated, throw off your levels and stuff that they're looking for. And that could raise alarms, which are really false alarms, because it's just your body is recovering from the stress of the workout. So when I go to get blood work, I try to have a normal, natural baseline. So I stop supplements for a week. I take at least 3 to 4 days off all strenuous exercise. And I want to be fully rested, fully recovered, so that when I go get the blood work, I'm getting true, accurate readings of where my body's at and not anything that's skewed because I took a supplement or because I did a hard leg workout the day before and that's throwing off my blood values the next day or whatever. All right. So this is important because I've seen some of my coaching students, for example, go in and then their doctors are freaking out, right? They're like, oh, I'm eating right. I'm exercising. I'm doing everything right. And then they're saying, well, your blood values, like your liver enzymes are high or your creatinine levels are high or whatever. And it's just a side effect of, the temporary stress that they're putting on their body through the training and of course the supplementation, but it's not actually causing damage. That's the thing, right? It's a correlation. It's not a causation, right? Like it's not a cause of stress, right? So some of these markers really need to be updated, because some of the methods that they use to determine the damage is not always totally accurate, right? And thankfully, like, there is new research and stuff to make this stuff more common knowledge, if you will. But still, a lot of the old school doctors and that will still, if they see this, they're going to think, oh, creatine is going to be bad for your kidneys, or protein is going to be bad for your kidneys, or working out is bad for you. Like I've literally had doctors tell me all that stuff in the past, right? Like, you still have some of those old school doctors, but thankfully more, catching up with the times, if you will. Yeah. I remember, this is one time, this was years ago. I was a teenager. I went I was at the hospital for a checkup or something, or I can't remember exactly what it was. And I told the doctor that I worked out, and he looked at me like I had 10 heads. He's like, "What the hell are you doing that for?" Right? Like, as if I was right. I mean, he just like couldn't wrap his head around, like, "What, you lifting weights? What are you doing that for? That's dangerous. Don't do that." Like, dude, it's like, anyway, hopefully people have progressed since then. This is an interesting question. I'm going to get ready to clue this up because we've been going an hour and a half now, but I want to answer this one. What's the relationship between staying hydrated and fitness? Hydration is not only for fitness, but it's just for your overall health and well-being. But from a fitness point of view, if you're dehydrated, your exercise performance goes down. Your strength, your energy, your recovery, your performance, everything goes down. Muscles are 75% water. And that water is critical for bringing in nutrients and just keeping the muscles hydrated. I mean, it's almost like, hydration and fitness is almost like saying, well, what's the point of having oil in a car? Like, why can't I just let the, drain the oil out of the car and drive it anyway, right? What do I need oil for? Oil's critical, right? Even though your car technically doesn't burn oil, oil helps the engine work, right? Water helps your body's engine work. It helps everything. Even though there's no calories in water and you're not getting energy from water, same as you're not getting, your car doesn't burn oil for energy like it does gasoline. You need oil, right? You need water, right? Your water is what helps the body function. It helps everything function. Every cell in your body has to be hydrated to function properly, right? Like, you could survive literally weeks without food, but you're only going to survive a matter of a few days without water. Like, water is in order of importance. It's air, water, and then food, right? Like, water is up there. If you don't have water, you die. Like, you want to look at another analogy? Get a plant and don't water it, and just see how long that plant lives for, right? It ain't going to live very long. It's going to wither up and die. And your body will do the same thing, right? You need water, right? I mean, you need to stay hydrated if you want to maximize your health and athletic performance and everything else. And that's a big thing. Like, if somebody has this old school mentality, like, oh, I'm not going to drink when I work out, or I'm going to tough it out. Like, back in the day, there were some guys who used to believe that. Like, I remember reading some of the old articles from Vince Gironda. Like, he wouldn't let his coaching students drink water during their workouts. Like, he thought that was a sign of weakness and whatever. Like, it's total bullshit. I don't know where he came up with it, but like, that is no. Staying hydrated is the key to improving your overall health and fitness and performance. And that's why you'll see athletes today, they hydrate properly, they fuel properly. Like, the biggest change in sports performance in the last, several decades, and especially over the last several years, has been the idea of nutrition and hydration and intra-workout nutrition and things like that. Like, this is key. The whole idea of trying to tough it out and thinking that, not eating or not drinking is a sign of being tough or whatever. Like, no, it's a sign of stupidity is what it is. All right. I'm going to get ready and clue it up, guys. We've went way over time here, but hopefully you got some value from our video chat here today. And again, just want to remind you, we're going to be launching a Lose Your Gut Challenge group in the new year. So if you haven't already done so, head on over to my website, leehayward.com, to check out the Lose Your Gut Challenge program. I've got a page there that outlines the whole thing. Let me just bring it up. Where is it to? There it is. Right. Head on over to leehayward.com, the Lose Your Gut Challenge, right? Fresh start in 2024. There's a page there that outlines the whole process of how this works. But basically, again, it's a 5-day intensive virtual coaching program, 100% free. Zero obligation, just 5 days of virtual coaching that will arm you with the skills, knowledge, and strategies to help you realize your fitness and fat loss goals this year. So again, head on over to my website, and then there's a link there to take you to the registration page where you can sign up for the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All you have to do is enter in your name and your email address, and you'll be on the registration list, and I'll keep you updated with all the details of how the challenge is going to go down. So again, check that out if you're looking to help maximize your health and fitness and start the new year off on the right track. All right, folks, I'm going to clue it up, and I will talk to you next year. Literally. Have yourself a great weekend. Have yourself a great New Year's, and I will talk to you next year. Take care. Over and out. Boom, boom.